So, hello everybody. My name is Jehad Mohamed, and the topic itself was creating your first UI design with Figma. So, I'll first give a small intro of what to expect from this session, and talk you through the Figma platform. And we'll also discuss other tools which are there, Adobe XD and Sketch, and how they compare with Figma. And by the end of the session, hopefully, I will be giving a small task, and there is a gift. Basically, you have to, if you complete the task by Monday, and you submit. Sony will be sharing a form, Google form, and if you submit your designs over there, you get a 2,000 rupees Amazon gift card voucher. So that's something to look forward to. So it's just to motivate you to try out on your own. So I'll share my screen. So first we'll go over Figma itself as a collaborative tool. So there are three main tools. When you talk about UI design, right, there are main three tools we should look for, and that is Adobe XD. Like, companies need you to learn any one of them to basically get started. That is Adobe XD, Sketch, and Figma. And the main three differences between these three giants is Figma is a web tool. That means no matter what kind of laptop you have, you can always use Figma. That is there. So if you have like a Windows, Linux, or Mac, Figma is usable. Sketch, on the other hand, is specifically only for Macs. But a lot of companies use it because a lot of designers have Macs. There is this thing. But huge companies like Swiggy, Zomato, etc. are moving from Sketch to Figma because of how easy it is, and as a collaborative tool, it's very simple to use. Adobe XD, on the other hand, is also free. Sketch is actually not free in the three of these. Figma, there is a free plan and there's a paid one. For students, there is a student plan which is free, so you can check that out. Adobe XD is free, and the thing about Adobe XD is it has a lot of new capabilities of XR. That is, if you're interested in augmented reality or virtual reality, you can make UI designs for those in Adobe XD, and also for like voice UI commands and things like that. They have added a lot of new stuff based on that. So we'll sign in first. So first thing you need to do is, I'll first show you some UI designs before we go forward to give you an idea of what we are trying to get into. So the idea here is when once you have an idea of what the screen should look like, that is where UI design comes in. UI, hold on, let me type first. All right. So there are two parts to making an UI. One is the UX, and then is the UI. UX is where you do research on your topic. For example, you find out what features does your app need, or what features does your website need, things like that. Other than features, what problems do users have while using current solutions? So those things are the research part of it. Comes in UX. UI takes care of how it looks, how the buttons look. For example, this was one project I had done with, this one was done with Figma. So as you can see, like, it's this particular was a client project for a company that wanted a social networking platform for parents of toddlers. So the app name is Toddler. And similarly, we have like the UI of, if you're familiar with Udemy, it's basically education as a service. So people can upload courses, and other people can, join the store, enroll in those courses and take it up. So this project was based on that. So the idea here is you are able to create designs which are interactive, and they show you what the app will look like. But before this, there's a step called wireframing, and this is part of the UX process. So this basically shows where your layout, how your layout will be, what components you'll use, etc. But I'm not going to, this session is just to give you an intro on Figma in itself. So I will first, if log into my account. Yeah. So this is the Figma dashboard. So we can just skip a lot of part of this and just try to start with a new design file here. So on the top here corner, plus new design file. And this is where you basically your entire inspector, what you'll be playing around with. So just to give an intro of what is where, here are all your design tools or options you can choose from. Here is your layers panel, and here are your properties. Now I'll explain each of them with an example. So just like how, assume you need to draw something. What is the first thing you need when you draw something? An artboard, right? A piece of paper, a cloth, or something to start on. And that is what you need over here, an artboard. And that here it's called frame. So if you see over here, the hash symbol on the top, when you click on it, there's an option for frame. And on the right side, if you see, you have a lot of options. You have like different types of phones, different types of tablets, different types of desktop like MacBook, Surface, iMac. Even like there are some options for even Apple Watch, and there are social media. So let me explain on why the social media thing is important. So since a lot of since Figma has vector editing capabilities, a lot of companies have started using Figma also for like social media posts, to make small vector changes and things like that. So what Figma did was they also allowed like templates for social media handles. So this is basically editing tool not only used for UI UX, but also a few of them use it for social media marketing. So I'll choose right now a iPhone 8 Plus. So you have a frame. Okay, this is called a frame. Now notice when once I added this frame, the size and the size of the frame, which is 414 cross 736, is there by like they have already chosen it. So that's the whole point of the frame, the ratio and everything, they keep it in mind. And you got a layer over here. So I'll be soon explaining what is this layer exactly and how does it work. Yeah, back to the point, we have a frame now, and now in the frame you can add elements. And here is where you have three types of element. One is shapes, second is a vector, and third is text. This is for adding comments, and this hand is for drag. It's a drag tool. You can drag stuff everywhere with it. Now let's try, for example, let's take something as simple as a rectangle. Now there are shortcuts also. I can use the keyboard R, L, Shift, L, this for these shapes. So I will take a rectangle, and by default, if I click, I'll get 100 cross 100 square, but let's try that again. So I pick rectangle and I drag my screen. I get a rectangle, which shape I can move around with. Similarly, I can draw a line, ellipse. Ellipse is basically a circle, but again, if you set the like px value depending on the as same, basically you get a circle. The length and width is what I'm talking about. And finally, polygon. Polygon by default is a triangle, but it does have the option of changing count, which is like number of sides. So decagon. So now, one thing you're wondering is which is on top, because the colors are different. You can't come to know which is on top. So I'll change the. So now this part is your layers panel I talked about, right? The left side layers. So in your frame, that is iPhone 8 Plus frame, we can rename this to something that is much more okay to us. Rename. So I can call it screen 1, right? And I have different elements in my screen 1, but the order of them is important. So here it shows the polygon. This one, the 10 side polygon is on the top. Eclipse is just below that. Then there's the line. Then there's the rectangle. What that means is, so if I change the colors, now whenever I select any single component, you select any component on your screen which you have created just now. I'll add one more component, that is text, T for text. So I just click anywhere and I can type anything. So you have different types of components in your screen. Now, let's call them elements, because there's another thing called components. So you might get confused with both of them. So let's call these elements. And now once you have these elements, you notice there are some options here: design, prototype, and inspect. For now, focus on the design part. So X, Y, W, H. If you notice, X is the, do you know what is the Cartesian plane system? The 4 points, which are, I guess, every maths class, you had to draw a graph. So it's like 0, 0 is at the center. So 0, 10 will be on the y-axis. Yeah, 0, 10 is on the y-axis. 10, 0 is on the x-axis. Things like that. You remember that, right? So this is basically similar to that. So if you see, while I'm changing the position of this square, the values of X and Y will change based on that. So if I bring it closer to this side, if you see, it becomes 0. But when I move it, it increases. So they are considering this point as origin, 0, 0, and then the position of the rectangle changes based on that, X and Y. W and H is the width and height of this particular rectangle. So as you see, whenever I change this, that changes. And finally, we have an angle, which is, as you can say, if I change this to something like 90, it will change the angle of that. And every time you want to make a change, undo it, Control Z. Like every other software, it's Control Z. All right. And finally, we have this curve. So this is basically only there for a few of the shapes, so which have a proper edges. And the thing it does is it gives curve to your. Can you notice the edges of this thing? Rectangle. It gives a good curve, and that is known as border radius. Okay. So the higher it is, the more curved your edge is. And there is an option to like individual corner if you want to manage. So example, I want one corner curved, the rest all straight. You can do that as well. So we'll set it back to 0. As now, the next thing is constraint proportion. So proportion. So this is basically when, let's assume you want a square and you do not want a rectangle. So the problem is every time you move around, it changes, right? So it's irritating. You can't manage that. So all you need to do is give it the square size you want and click this constraint button. So as you see, it was unlocked before I locked it. Okay. So now what happens is the shape is basically constrained to square. So let's, that's the thing. So similarly, when you click on the circle, you have X, Y, which is point on the Cartesian system, Width and height, because this is an ellipse, this is not a proper circle, it's an ellipse, you can change those. And angle. And other thing, constraints, again they have shown what kind of constraints are there. Fixed position on scrolling, I'll explain later. This will come in handy when you are making a UI where you have to scroll. Finally, fill. Okay, so this is the editing part which will come through later. Now again, for other shapes also we can check this out. So this decagon has similar properties, and you can see a default color of C4, C4, C4. Now, to know what this number is, it's called hex coloring. Okay, so every color on your on the basically the color wheel has a certain hex value, and you can also try some RGB if you want, or CMYK is not there, but yeah, but hex is the most, like in every designing tool which is there, hex is the most commonly used one, and you can just change it as necessary. And next thing you can do is you can set this 100% is basically your opacity, so you can set that also. Let's say if I want it to be 50% opaque, and you see now it's translucent, it's 50% opacity. So that comes as a part of the properties. Along with that, another thing you can do is stroke and effects. Stroke is nothing but a border. So if you see now, a black border has been added to your rectangle. All right, and I'll change the color inside also. Let's make it red. And the thing is, this border color, you can also known as stroke, you can there are some options regarding center, inside and outside. So this is important when wait, let me show with the help of an example. And this is the width over here. Under the color you have the width of the stroke. So as you can see, it's increasing inside, right? As I increase it inside the rectangle, it's increasing. This option, center, inside, outside, basically manages that. So if you want it from outside the rectangle, it gives you this option. So there's the rectangle and then the stroke is around it. Center is, there's the rectangle and center aligned to it, you get the border. And finally inside. Inside means there's a rectangle and inside it you have this thing. Finally, there is your effects. So you saw what stroke is, it gives you a border. Finally, effect, what it does is you can have some effects known as like background blur, layer blur, which we can see later. But importantly here, one which many people use is drop shadow. So you can't see it as well, but I'll try to increase the layer color here. So if you notice, this circle has, wait, let's change the color to something. This circle has a shadow, and that is made by this drop shadow, this thing. And you can change the color of the shadow if you want. So I can make it green itself and then change the opacity of that as necessary. So you get a nice feel to the shape. So these shadows you can manipulate, inner and outside shadows. Inner means it will come inside the shape. Outer shadow is basically how you saw it. Now outside. This is when it comes to shapes. When you come to lines, there are a few more options which also include things like dashes and gaps. So this is nothing but making your line dotted. So you can adjust the size of each of stroke and the distance between them. Finally, you have text. When you see text, the options are the fill, stroke, effects are same, those options. But there's another one, this thing known as where you can choose your font, and they allow you to upload your own font if you want. Then there's option of font size, alignment. This is important if you're like designers, if there's text involved. And there's even more options like capitalization, make every lowercase, title case, underline it, strike through it, number it, give bullet points. Everything you can do in Word, you can make those changes on this text over here. And even the color, as usual. So this basically covers up what you have, what and all you can make. Oh yeah, I didn't show the pen and pencil tool, right? Let's go to that. First, the pen tool. The pen tool allows you to make vectors. So let's say I want to make a weird shape. So I can just go on clicking. And you can add curves to your shape. And then finish it. So you have a weird shape tool, like a vector. Basically, this is a vector. And you can fill it with any color you want. Again, so it becomes like one of these shapes, but you design how it goes. So that's the pen. Pen goes by number of points. And then the other option is pencil. Pencil is more of, it's how a paintbrush works. So it's not as this thing as a pen tool, like, because there is a lot of, when you're moving your mouse, there's a lot of error movement. So there's a lot of error that will be there in your design, but if you're good at drawing, this is a good option. Now you have seen what and all we can add on the screen. Now the next thing is how these layers matter. All right, so this opacity was 50%. I'm making it 100 again. If you see, when I bring it over the rectangle, it's shown that polygon is over my rectangle, and that's how it works. See, polygon is at the top, means it is the highest thing. So anything I bring under it disappears under it. Got it? So if I change this to blue, as you see, the hierarchy goes, let me bring this also. Hierarchy goes like this. First, there's a polygon on the top, below that ellipse, below that line, below that your text. So if I add the text will be again here, below those two. So this is the layers panel, which allows you to do that. Supposing you want to change that, you can push it up. And this is done by control and square brackets. If you choose the control and small brackets, you can this thing. Or another way is you drag it directly. Got it? So if I want ellipse on top, I just drag it to the top, it's on top. If I want text on the top, I drag it, it's already on the top. So if I want text in the bottom, put it there. And then if I want line on the top, just drag it. So that is that, which is layer. So that's why it's called layers. So it's like each layer, there's one thing, and you can choose what layer comes first. It's like an artist painting a design or like a scenery, and he chooses one layer, like first the sky, then the land, like that. So layer by layer. Now, another thing is, if you notice, there are some things next. Whenever I see the left-hand side, the options here, there is a lock and an eye. This is similar to your, that show password wala. Like then eye will be there, no? So this is similar to that. So example, my ellipse, I want to hide it. I just have to click the eye. So eye closes over here, and you can't see it in your design. And whenever I want to see it again, I can this thing. So that's basically what that does. Lock, on the other hand, what it does is it locks that particular element in a way that I can't select it. So now I selected everything, but see, locked, the one which I locked is not coming, like it's not getting selected. That's because I locked it. So I can unlock it and then I can select it. That's the difference. If I lock it, I can't select the circle. Once I unlock it, I can. All right. So that's what that is used for. You have assets here. You can add colors which you want to reuse and stuff. This goes into a lot of the more complicated parts of Figma, but this is an introductory session. So, we are sticking to the easy stuff. What will we be designing today? So what I thought we can do is we'll try to design something. What is a photo vault? A photo vault is an app where you can store your photos, and to view your photos, you need to enter a PIN code. So that's what we're going to try to make today. We can't obviously make all the screens, but you're going to try to make some of the screens, and hopefully you'll learn like what you know, how you can make UI designs with Figma along with that. So before we go on to make any what do you say, designs, we need a color palette, and that is the first important thing about UI design, making color palettes, like deciding on what color palettes. So if you see some of my designs, like I have already decided on what colors I'll be using and stuff. Hold on. Yeah, so every project, UI project you make needs to have a color palette like this. So one thing is, you know, it's difficult for beginner designers to come up with this color palette. So there's a uh, generator known as coolers. So as you see, there is a list of 5 colors over here. So all I need to do is to generate a new palette of colors, press spacebar. Every time I press the spacebar, new colors come up, and I can select on you know, some of the colors which I like. For example, I like this blue and this blue. So I lock those colors. So I like this white and this blue. So I lock them, and I'm pressing again, and it's giving me new templates with those colors in mind. And this is a nice combination. So, you know, you have to like go through it a bit too, because I'm searching for a really dark color now to use as text font. Will fit, but it's not dark enough. All right, let's use these colors. So let's go back to this thing. I'll first create a few rectangles out here just to, you know, store the colors which we just decided to use. I'll explain why I do this later. So each color I told you has a hex value, and I'm changing this hex value based on that. So I duplicate it. Okay, for duplication, assume you have a component on your screen. Duplicate is Control D. That's it. So you duplicate. So right now I'm doing it outside because I'm not using it on my screen. Just need the colors. And oh, this color seems a bit out of place, so I'll give a bit more dark bluish theme to it. Okay, so this is done. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to know how to make a screen interactable. So that is moving from one screen to another by clicking something. So we are going to make our first button. Okay, and to do that, what does a button look like generally? It looks like either a long capsule, or it either looks like you know, a rounded box or a box itself. So we'll start with that. I'll create a box, a rectangle, and okay, once we have that, we need because I like rounded boxes a lot, I'll just add a bit of around this thing. And now you need text. right? So for that, you choose this thing. So we call it a button. Let's call this button a button. Or we can say click me. And we'll put the font something that will go along with the UI. Here you can choose anything, but you know, it's good to go through a few, like you should have a few good ones in mind. It helps with your process. I have chosen railway along with roboto for now, and I'll decrease the size of the text. Another thing you can do with text is here, if you notice on the bottom, there are different font weights, it's called. So it's like you can make it bold more, and you can also increase things like character spacing and line spacing. So I've added some stuff. Now the thing is, the color is still a bit weak to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select one of the bright colors which I had taken initially, or that works. And the text color I'll select. So if you see, what I'm doing is adding these colors initially helps me easily use them just by like picking a palette. Like, so this eyedropper I can just choose, like if I choose red or blue. So right now I'm choosing this blue, and the background color also you can change. So if you select the entire screen, you can see that the fill is white. I'm changing it to the light blue which we selected. So the colors don't match, so I'll give it another shot. Okay, this seems nice. So we have a button, and now we need another screen. So all you need to do is click your initial screen and duplicate it. Control D, as I said. So let's change the colors because it should look different, right? I'll change the colors of this particular one. So now what you're going to do is we are going to try to make, when I click button A, it should go to this screen. When I click this button, it should go to this screen. That is what we are going to do. And for that, first we need to group components. So the thing is, right now, if you see in iPhone 8.1, this screen, so let's rename it as screen 1. In your screen 1, and the next one I'm renaming it as screen 2. All right. So you have screen 1 and screen 2, and the idea, if you notice over here, so it's like inside screen 2, there is click me, this one. So click me and a rectangle. Inside screen 1, there is click me and a rectangle. All right. So these are two separate pages, you could say, or here in this case, screens. And then you have these 4 rectangles, which we are using as a palette for now. Now, the next thing you need to do is, you have done the design part. Okay. So all we needed to do was make the button functionable, right? So we need to group these components to make a button. So I'll select both of them. So if you see here on screen, both are getting selected, and I press Control G or right click and group selection. So if you see here, I'm using a Mac, so it's showing Command G, but you can use Control G and group. So instead of having separate like this, it has one group, which you can rename to button 1. So similarly, do that here also. Control G, button 2. Okay. So we have 2 buttons. Now we need to add the functionality part, which is when I click button 1, I should go to this screen. When I click button 2, it should return back to this screen. So one thing, I'll just change the placement of this so it doesn't look like, you know, colors are changing. That's fine. And let's start. For doing this, click on what you want to make a button. So like you made a button, but you're not added the functionality. So that happens in the second stage. First stage was what you design it. Second stage, you prototype. So I click prototype, and if you notice, this does not have any interactions. Once you made a group and you renamed the group, okay, you need to add interaction. For that, you have finished the design part. Next is prototype, I told. And currently there are no interactions. Under interaction, nothing is there. So I select what I want to add interactions to, and I click here plus, as in I'm adding an interaction. I click, so I told you there are different options in this. So in the sense, it's event driven. So every time I do some action, it causes something to happen. And that means if I click, or means on tap, it should do something. On drag, it should do something. While hovering, it should, like when I hover over it, it should do something. While pressing, it should do something. And things like that. You know, there are many things over here. And I've selected on tap, and what it should do, navigate to. Navigate to means it will go to that screen. And then I select screen 2. So if you remember, I named the screen 1 and screen 2. This is screen 1, this is screen 2. So I'm selecting screen 2. So when you do that, you have this line which you get, which is on tap, navigate to screen 2, animation is instant. Similarly, we are trying to make a new one, interaction from this button to this screen. So I add an interaction, tap, navigate to screen 1. So when I click on the green color, click me, it should navigate to screen 1. Understood, right? Now, once I have added both the lines from screen 1 to screen 2 and screen 2 to screen 1, present. The present button is the thing on the top next to share. So I added that, and as I told, it shows how it would look in the iPhone which you selected. So supposing I selected iPhone X or something, it'll show like in that model how your UI will look. So when I click me, it goes to the next screen 2. When I click again, it goes to screen 1. Got it, right? So right now it's interactive. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next part. I just wanted to explain this thing before we go move on forward. So we have a button now, and the next. So as I said before, we are making a photo vault app, right? So for doing that, right now I am using. We need an icon, so I'll use plugin. So there are different plugins, okay, in Figma. So these plugins allow you to do things like get images, get icons. So if I go to material design icons, so I've enabled this plugin already. So all I need to do is search for an icon. So this is a plugin which you have to enable. So you have to go to plugins and then manage plugins, or browse plugins in community, and you can download plugins from there. So this is known as the material design icons wala plugin. To those who don't know what material design is, it's a design system by Google. And basically Google designed these icons in simple terms. Let's go with that. So I need an image because it's a photo, right? So I need an image, but that doesn't look good. So let's try camera. Okay, this is there. I bring it here. I see when I drag it, I got a camera icon there, and I need a lock. So I got two icons over here. Now remember when I told the vector manipulation in this, like Figma is really good. So I'll explain what I meant by that. So as you see, this is a vector on its own, right? So I can combine, I should be able to combine these vectors. Hold on. So I can make a rectangle. I want to only the top part of that. So what I'm doing is, not this design. So when I select two shapes, two vectors, so this shape and this shape, you can use a few vector operations when I select both of them. So in this case, a rectangle is getting selected, vector is getting selected, and what is this? Okay. Yeah. So they are union selection, subtract selection, intersect, exclude. I'll explain what each of these do. Union means you add them. See, it became one shape. That's thing, the curve of the top and the rectangle became one shape. That is union. So, okay. This was the shape before. So let's see. That was union. Then is your subtraction. Subtraction, what it does is removes that part which was there in the rectangle, the down part. So whatever is covered by this, it removes. Then is your intersect. Basically, what was intersecting between the first shape and second shape. So if you had, remember, you guys are engineering students, then I guess you guys know sets, set theory, union, intersection, that U, ulta U, and you remember those set theory rules, right? Same apply here for vectors. So you have union, subtract, intersect, exclude. Exclude is, if I'm not wrong, outside of this and outside of that, whatever is common, they remove. So those are the options, and we need only the black part on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to do subtract. We're going to take this little buddy. We're going to try to, wait. This is inside a group. So we're going to ungroup it. Remove this. This could have been a bad idea. Okay, so we then merge it. Okay, fine. The entire point of this was to show you how to do the vector manipulations, and I just needed a logo or something to start with. All right, so that was the entire thing, which was why I did this. So once I do this, I can change the inside fill color because it's a vector, right? I can change the color to something more nice. Add text to call ourselves photo vault. So it's railway, we'll change it to roboto. Color, we can change it to this thing. All right, so this, you added text, you added a shape. Next thing you need to add is a button, right? So the button should say something like enter vault or something like that. So in this case, wait, let's change the screen also colors. And we, okay, this looks good. So I'll add a button, add the curves, select a color, add text, plugins. So if you see, there are many plugins I have enabled, but you can see in the, we browse it in the community. So there are a lot of plugins over here. So there is a plugin for getting images, not icons. Then there is a plugin for icons, material. This is the one which I used, material design icons. Then there is for lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is, to those who don't know, it's basically a filler text, dummy text. So every new design which you don't want to fill paragraph, you can use lorem ipsum. There is one for removing background from images. There is one for charts, wireframes. There's a lot of different types of this thing. There are some for like you can convert your designs into HTML, CSS directly without coding. So that is also there. You know, like if you're into Flutter, for example, Adobe XD has a plugin which can convert your UI design into app directly. I mean, you have to code a little of the backend, but the logic you'll need to code, but still the UI part directly it converts. So it saves a hell lot of time. So all you need to do is you need to like press install over here. Once you do, in your this thing, you can call them. So I go to plugins. So let's say I want to add an image over here. I choose Unsplash. Unsplash gives you image. I search for an image which says, let's say, scenery. Insert one image. It gave me a huge image, but that's what it does. I didn't have to go Google for images. Got it. So pretty much. Okay, let's go back to my whatever we had in this thing. So I'll change the color of this button to make it look a bit more better. Change the text to enter pin. See, you can add some other stuff like to make it look cool. I mean, this all is up to you, but all right. So we have something on our hands. Once you're done with this, we need a next screen where a user can enter the pin. Hold on before I go. Okay, so I click a photo vault when I open it. Enter pin is an option. Click duplicate this, remove unnecessary this thing. Enter your pin. So before I go on to this, always in UI you need to keep in mind of alternate options. So here I'll just make a copy of this text in case you forget your pin. So forgot pin, and we'll make it a bit smaller and medium. Also, okay, yeah, that's good. And size, if possible, to make. See, the thing is, if you add an underline between text, it looks like a link. So we'll do that, and we'll set the opacity. So setting opacity now, which I was talking about over here, which is you can easily do it by clicking on your element and then clicking a number. So if I click on this, forget pin, and I click 8, see this what's written here, opacity set to 80%. So similarly, if I click 9 now, opacity set to 90%. So we can do that. Make it this thing a bit small. All right. So there is a back of this thing. Forgot pin. Enter your pin. Here we need something. Okay, when you talk about pins, normally you talk about a 4-digit pin. We need 4 lines. Once. All right, so we add thickness, some opacity, 5 should. If you see now there are 4-digit options, and we need to add a number pad, right, for all this to work. And before we go on to that, we need an option to go back in case this person does not want to enter the pin anymore for some reason. So to do that, we need a back button. So again, we are going to plugins, material design icon, and I'll press something like back or arrow, I guess. Yeah, arrow. So I get an arrow, put it here. Make it a little big. Okay, so got it. A back button. Enter your pin. And now we need this thing, what do you call, to type the particular this thing. Got it. So we need the number pad. So for that, if you guys remember, it's 1, 2, 3. So I'll make it white and then reduce the opacity. You'll be wondering now what I'm doing this for. It's for the pin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more, I guess. Do this. So in this case, we are going to add now the numbers. One, 2, 3. Hold on, I think I know the issue. Yeah. 3, this is 6. 4, 7, 8, 9. So one last button which I kept was for back, like canceling, which you have already written. Back. So let's see if they have an option. Yeah. So this particular button is what I was looking for. Select it, change color to white, put it up there, and we're good to go. So if I enter a pin, I can enter it here or go back. Now, similarly, like we did before, the button thing, you remember, right? We first grouped it and then we added a prototype, add interaction, tap, navigate to your screen 2. We added the line. Okay, first part is done. Second part, we have to do again, same thing. Interactions, tab, navigate to screen 1. So when I press back, it goes here. So you have done one part in which you have entered a pin, you know, you went back, and now the thing is, you have either you have one more option, right? In case you forgot pin, we'll do this the last. But now the next thing is, once you enter the pin, what it should look like. So make a duplicate of this. Okay, and if you notice, when you create a duplicate of this, whatever connections you had added in the previous one, that also gets duplicated, and that is fine. That is what we need. But now we are going to do which one? So I'm going to group this, create an, okay. So what we have been doing from now, right? The interaction one, that can be done easily by clicking this circle, but I'll show once more how to do it. I'm selecting all these and like adding an interaction tab, navigate to, and screen 3. The reason I'm doing this is I need to show that when I click any of these numbers, what will the numbers look like over here on the top, right? So to do that, I have selected this. There's no other reason for doing that. And once I did that, I have to add some numbers. Let's add some numbers. So 1, 1, 4, and let's try to increase the opacity because it's full, so it should look different a bit. And when I click back, I'll add another animation here, interaction. When I click back, tab, navigate to screen 2. So basically, when I click any of these buttons, it goes here, this screen. It will get filled. When I click this particular back button, it goes here. Okay, and yeah, one thing is, yeah. You'll be thinking, do we not need a button after typing the 4? Generally, when it comes to such apps, there's always a, what do you call, once you type in the 4 keys, it generally checks on its own. So this is going to be fine from here. And normally, when you type a wrong this thing, right, it gives you an error message. For now, we'll leave it at that and check this out. So let's see how it looks. Okay, this is now the first screen. So when I press enter pin, this comes. When I press back, this thing. Enter pin back. So next thing is, if I try to type something, it gets filled, a few of it. So if you notice, it doesn't act like a real app. It acts like it auto fills. That is because it's a prototype. So you can animate each and every number, but that will take a lot of time. And all your stakeholders or whoever you're showing your design to needs to know how it will look. And that's it. So if I press this back, it fills it. And then I press back, goes to this page. Moving on. Next is assuming you have typed it correctly. Okay. Assuming you have typed it correctly, let's say the password was supposed to be 1145. Okay, you typed it correctly, you will go directly to gallery. But what if you typed it wrong? So here we need to show what would happen if you typed it wrong. So when you type it wrong, first of all, it will clear your current this thing. This opacity was how much? 50%. So we'll give that 50. and you need to show an error message when you type something wrong, right? So here you can change this to wrong pin. And to add a flair to that, like to show like it's really wrong, what you can do is add a background. Yeah, add a background to it. Change the color to red, and this red I'm taking it from the one which we had, and stroke also I'll change it to red. The idea is I'm trying to reduce this, increase this, and yeah. Okay, so what I just did was I created a rectangle. Fill, I made it fill, the inside color. I made it transparent, 29% of that red color. Stroke, which is the border, I made it the same red with 2 radius. So it looks like, it's giving a warning. So that was the entire point of this thing, wrong pin. And this happens when you try to, let's say if you click 0, it gives you a wrong pin. And for interaction, as I said, you need to go to prototype, add an interaction, move to wrong pin. Okay. On tap, navigate to screen 4. So I initially I had shown what you directly do it from here, right? On tap, none. The easier way is you see this button here, the plus button. Whenever you go in design mode, that won't be there. Okay. When I go to prototype mode, this button will pop up on this side. On the right side, there'll be a plus button. Just drag that out and point it on the screen which you want to go to. So by default, it will fill on tap, navigate to screen 4. So we can check it out now. But before we do that, what else is there? Back button 0. If it fills correctly, but that we can see later. Now we'll just check this out. So I want to enter a pin. I entered some numbers. Let's say I entered a wrong this thing. I added 0. So it'll show wrong. So I can go back, enter pin. Okay, and I can unfill it. 0. 0 is wrong pin. Now, supposing you are given a correct pin, you need to go to the gallery, right? That is the final listing. Because it's a photo world, there need to be photos in photo world. Finally, you need to show photos, right? And for that, I'm assuming we will go make a new screen. You can remove everything from the current screen because nothing will be like, it's a photo world. Only images will be there, right? And you can add a text photo world, and maybe you can add some information like 13 or 23 photos, if it's thing, and make it like regular, small. And one thing here is I want to make it like, because there are a lot of photos here, right? When there are a lot of photos, when you open gallery in your app, UI app, what happens when you open gallery? You get a bunch of images and you are able to scroll. So let's try to implement something similar here. In this case, we are going to add a rectangle. Let's say 3 should do it. I will make sure the width and height is same, 91. All right, 3 squares. and then duplicate them. Duplicate. So at some point I need to increase this. Right. So I told 23. So 23 means 27 rows plus 2. 6, 7 rows plus 2. This should do it. These are 23 photos. Now, if I'm assuming correct, okay, this is a trick which works in Adobe XD. I hope this works here. So let's check it out. Select all your squares which you want to add images in. Go to the Unsplash plugin. So hope this thing works. Insert random. So it takes a time. Okay, so as you see, Unsplash has added random images over here. All right, but now if we check this thing, what do you see? The thing is, although you want to make it scrollable, you want to keep this there. So I'll show you the issue right now. So if I select this particular screen, okay, enter pin. Oh, wait, it's not connected yet. Sorry. So supposing you can, let's say you pressed 5. So 5 was, let's say 1145 is the right password. And so you go to prototype mode. See, I told you there's one way in which you can add interaction directly here, or there is the drag button. I just click it, drag it here. So I just drag the arrow. I can move around the arrow and move it till here. So it on tap navigate screen 5. It shows on its own. I don't have to do that. So once that is done, I can just check this out in interaction, how it came. Enter pin, enter something. If I enter 0, it shows wrong. So I go back. I enter something, enter 5, it shows. So if you see, we are at a fault, and it's scrollable. See, if you see, it's scrollable. The thing is, I want this thing on the top right, the photo wall, 23 photos, always to stay there. Like when I scroll down, that should be there. I need something for that. So we're going to make that. So what we're going to do is photo world, this thing. I will push it to the side. I'll push this to the side. We need to make an option like which fits this thing. So design wise, this is 23. This is 32. We'll make it 23. Set this thing. Now make this thing. So if you see your gallery, right, this thing is there on the top, but like it's a small section on the top which has that. So if you, all right. Okay, so photo wall 10. Good. So, and the photos, we'll try to push it up a bit, reduce the scroll. Okay, this is itself is enough. But this thing and we want it to stay in the same place while this scroll thing is there, right? That's what I told. So I select these two, 23 photos and the dark thing. And if you see in the left hand side, fix position when scrolling. So what does this do is when see it's shown over here, when you scroll, that position keeps fixed. But right now, this rectangle is at the bottom of, no, it's on the top. So it's good, should work. Let's see, I have fixed it. Make sure it's on the top of the screen. Okay, these two, they should be at the top of the screen. then everything on the bottom. So we have done that. And one final option we need is, once I go into my gallery, I should be able to log out of the gallery. In the sense, I should be able to do two things. We'll see that one by one. So we're still yet to finish it. So we'll first see how this scroll thing came up. Enter pin, phi, and if you see the thing on the top stays, right? That happened because you selected that. So the image thing goes scroll and the top thing stays as it is. Got it? Now, one more thing is, what's left now? To view individual image and to log out. You should be able to log out and go back to the screen from here. So for that, you need an icon for logout. Material design should have a logout button. Log out. Do they have? No, maybe it's log in, sign out, something. It's an none of these work really. You know what, chalta hai, we can make an icon. Let's see. Pen. So I make an arrow. And done. Okay, wait, it's coming. I drew this and this, make this a bit smaller, and one more line. I need L. Hold on. Fix position. Put the rectangle down. Sorry, this is taking a bit more time than I thought. I thought I'll have the icon with this. Okay. So all I need to do is now lock this for now. Select this, change color to white. Thickness. Curve it. Cap. Round. Cap. Okay, what a cap is, I'll explain. So if you see at the end of these vector lines, it's a straight and this is this thing, right? So I can add caps in the end. So in the sense, I choose a cap round, it adds a round over there. So that's what it does. Okay, back to work. I'll group it and now just align it to use for logout. Image prototype, interactions. This should go back to our main listing. So I made this and I connected it to my first screen. Okay, so and basically when I scroll now, this also will be on the top, the logout button. Because you to enable scroll, right, all you need to do is take your normal image, normal screen, and drag it down, drag this down. So then it becomes scrollable. And then you can add your images. Images, like you can add your own images, but as I showed, there's a trick to it, right? You can use that. Next thing we finish off with, I guess it's almost time for this. Hold on. We need one more screen, which is what happens when you click an image, right? So in this case, so here instead of 23 photos, I'll add an image name. So it's something like lighthouse PNG and I'll just add this here on the screen. So the idea is when I click this image, click prototype, it should on tap navigate screen 6. That's what you want. And when I click back, instead of, you see by default it was here, but I have to change it now. It should go to this. So on tab navigate screen 5 when I click back from here, and from here logout is there. So this part is done. Okay, scroll. Now we'll go through the entire thing once, what we have done. So first we learned how to put components on your screen, like elements on your screen, and how to edit them. Next thing, when I click a button, how to go to the next screen. Using that same logic, I was able to add text and then back this thing using that same logic. And then what we have done is, if I press 0, 1140 means the wrong thing. So you can go back, try again. 1145 is the correct one, in which you'll be able to log in. And when you log in, this thing, we made it stay on the top using the fix, the checkbox under the constraints that fix this thing. You just need to do select it for all these 3 components which you want to stay on the top. And when you select this, you have the image. You can press back, goes here. You can press logout, comes back to page 1. Now, this entire thing which we did, how to get started in Adobe XD, that will be for another session, Baba. That will take a lot of time. But again, I recommend the same thing to everyone who wants to start with Adobe XD, and that is Adobe. This is where I started working in Adobe XD. Adobe XD Creative Challenge. Yes. So there's this thing called Adobe XD Creative Challenge, and so it's basically 9 days, 1 hour each day. By the end of 9 days, you have a complete UI UX project ready. Okay, and it's very interesting. And the best part is, right, this is hosted by the developers and designers of Adobe XD. So like you can ask them any question. If you have bugs during making, like anything, you can ask them. So do check it out. I'll send the link in the chat. It's very nice. My submission for that was this. So the thing is, right, for this particular creative challenge, my work was, this app was showcased in their, it's a movie app, basically movie web app. It was showcased in their like top designs. So after that, I decided to work full time in design, that kind of. How to effectively use color palettes. Okay, when you talk about color palettes, right, it's not always a science, it's more of an art, to be honest. But make sure you have 3 things in any color palette. That is, one really dark color like this, one really light color, which can be like, will be like almost white. Because the thing is, when you're using UI design, right, you'll be using a lot of white space when normally, and one really accent color. So it can be something like this. Accent in the sense it's really bright. It's not black. It's not white. It's really, separate. So like this blue, and then there's something, opposite to that. So it can be this green or red. So, and then you can choose one color for, anything that suits your this thing, right? But if you see it, it's basically, that's the thing, one light color, one really bright color, and one dark, really dark color. So that's pretty much what you need to stick to. How did I get my UI UX job? Okay, very good question. So there's, are you guys aware of Canva? What is Canva? Okay, there are many questions. Let's go fast then. I wanted to work at Canva. So after I found out, like, I'm okay at designing, I wanted to work at Canva. And I was like, you know what, I'll join Canva. That was like my thing. I was like, I'm going to join Canva. But I messaged them and they're like, they do not take interns from India, which was tricky because I'm from India, and that kind of ruined all my plans. But I kept spamming them. Like every time I finished some course or something, some update to my resume I made, I used to send them a new copy. Finally, they got fed up and were like, okay, we'll give you an intern position. 6 months I worked over there. Like I got a good grip of design. To be honest, before that, I was pretty good at coding. Like I've taught a lot of juniors I see here who I know. Raksha is there. I've not taught Raksha, but there are a few juniors I see mine here. But they know, like, I'm okay at coding, like, not bad. But the thing is, I hated coding. That's the thing. Also, being a CS engineer, it was messed up. After that, like, I got around 4 job offers, but all of them were like product roles. And I was like, you know what, next job, whatever it is, whatever they pay, I'll better be a designer. And I applied like through around 100, 200, this thing. Out of that, got few interviews, because the problem is no one wants to hire a fresher designer who isn't a designer. In the sense, I'm an engineer, right, who has turned into a designer, and that too I'm a fresher. So that was, people did not want to hire someone like that. But what I did was, then a few people know this, I had started a company in between, and then I closed it also. So I added that to my resume, and like suddenly, like, I was getting a lot of calls from here and there, because I guess they admire like someone who has done something with their life. And so I got a job around 9 months ago. It's been 9 months working there. I'm the sole designer of the company, so like everything design related I do. But it's fun, UI UX stuff. Pay is also it's almost double of what I was getting in like campus placements. So you can always dream. What do you suggest for a beginner, Figma or Adobe XD? Adobe XD, because there's a lot of tutorials, and again, the one which I showed, right? This is for beginners. It's easier to start with. So I recommend Adobe XD because I started with Adobe XD. But Figma is also good. It's upon you. Is it necessary for UI UX designer to know HTML and CSS? Not necessary, but if you want to get a job, then kind of, yeah, because they expect you to know. You won't be using it much, but they expect you to know basics of HTML and CSS. Another thing to keep in mind is in our college placements, they don't really come for design roles. I have seen only like few companies who have come for design roles. Like in my year, there were like three design roles in the entire year. 3 people roles, like, and I didn't apply for any of them. But the thing is, it's not as much in our college. So if you're planning the design route, you should also keep that in mind. You have to apply outside a lot than inside, like, than college placements. But it's good to have backups, as college placements aren't that bad as people make them out to be. They're just doing their job, trying to get you a job. How to judge our design? Sometimes I feel we all are good. Feedback. It's not, see, the thing is, right, as designers, we think all our design, all our like designs are really good, but the thing is feedback from others will really keep your eyes open. So you should always be open to feedback. Finally, how to apply jobs from outside. Here's the thing, like jobs outside, they pay almost double of what they pay in your campus placements. That's the good part. The issue is the competition is 10 times what is there in your college. When you apply for a job, like if you're going college placements, your competition is just your classmates. And if you're better than your classmates, you have almost already won, right? But when you apply a job outside, your competition is also your seniors who don't have a job right now, your super seniors who have been, let's say, taking a course or have done masters already, are people from other colleges. So it's everyone. So there's 10 times, like for a single designer job, like in our company, there's a senior designer position open. There's like almost 1,000, 2,000 applications we get. And from that, we have to narrow down to one person. So the competition is there outside, but cold emails help a lot, where you email the company instead of like just applying on LinkedIn or anywhere. You email the company about yourself, say I'm interested. They normally respond back. Tips for freelancers. What tips, bro? I mean, learn how to charge your client. In the sense, that is important. See, the problem is if you go into this freelancer.in, Fiverr and all, right, you won't easily get clients, because it's more of they prefer to go with professionals who have like 5-6 years of experience. Okay, and once you have, like, the thing is, once you join these as a student, it's difficult because obviously no one wants to hire a student when there's an option of a person with experience, right? So it's difficult. But my most of this thing happened, like, pricing is your main game, man. Like, in the sense, if it's a Bangalore startup who's your client, price it a little bit less, because it's first of all Indians. They like, and that too, who are in Bangalore startups, those are like, they won't be ready to spend as much. They'll think they'll always find some banda who will do it for like 500 rupees. They won't, but they think they'll do for some reason. But if it's someone from Gulf, you can charge like 5 times the same price. So make sure you get the max money you can. Do job hirers see design certifications and profiles? Profiles on Dribble and Behance, definitely. If you don't have a profile on Dribble and Behance, then how are you showing like what you have done, right? That is the main thing for UI design, not for UX. UX, there are other things to show. Design certifications for us, yes, because you're an engineer. Those, I am assuming you're an engineer, Dhriti. So for you, yes, because the thing is, they want you to know that, see, here's the thing, when a designer who has studied in NID or NIFT or any of these design colleges, they know he knows the basics of design because he has studied in this college, right? We have done engineering, so they are like, they don't know whether you know design. So certifications do help in that. I recommend for basics of graphic design, I recommend Cal Arts. I mean, it's a very boring course. There's like history of design and all that nonsense, but it's a certificate which California of Arts, so California Institute of Arts. So value is there kind of to the certificate. So as I was saying, certifications for engineers, it matters. Try to get at least 1 or 2 in. If you're doing UI camp, or there is like Michigan universities. The reason I'm recommending these Coursera courses is right now it's free. Just finish it off, get the paper, put it on your resume. To be honest, there's not much value, but we need, as engineers, we need to show that we know design. What is some of my best design works? Wait. Best, I don't think I put over here though. Okay, there is my final year project which I made. It was called IFRA actually, Improved Facial Recognition Amber Alert System. So it was built in, like, we wanted to build for United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime. So the idea was missing children. It's a dashboard for the police to find missing children, and it looks really beautiful. I have not uploaded it for, I'm not sure why I have not uploaded my portfolio, but it was one of the biggest projects I had done. And this is my first project which I had done in engineering in first year. So first, if any first year students are there, do look at, you have the CAD textbook, right? CAD primer, if I'm not wrong. Is CAD still a subject? I'm not sure. But
Right.
I feel like a grandfather, like Hamale Zamane mein tha CAD. So you had diagrams like this, right? So what my app used to do is it gives you a 3D representation of what was there in your textbook. So like 2D becomes 3D kind of using AR. Yeah, I had one tech vision with this shit in first year. It was nice. That's the. So thank you, Afroz. So this was coded with Unity actually. I mean, design work is very less, but that time C#. I'm not sure like how to find, how to choose font. Wait, first let's say, where can I see your designs which were put on your Instagram profile before? I don't know, like the current one is there, some at jehad.kun at jehad.kun. If you're talking about the logo designs, they are on my portfolio. I added them, like 30 logos. So this is a design challenge where 30 days, each day you have to make one logo. It's kind of interesting. Next question is, yes, Crystal, we need to have our own portfolio for a job. That's the first thing. Like if you're a designer, portfolio. If you're a developer, if you're becoming an engineer, GitHub. Without that, they'll be like, if you don't have that, just, I mean, what else is there to compare? How to, I mean, it's in the sense you just take your best project. No. You don't need always a website. You can just use Behance. I have a separate website, but it's on Wix. So I don't show it to anyone. I guess it's still alive. I'm not sure. Wait for it. Jehad Mohamed z.wixsite.com. Yeah, it's there, but I've not coded it. But the thing is, you don't need a website. You just like, you can just upload it like this on Behance. You don't need a particular website to this thing. Behance is fine. How to choose font? So, dude, this is more of like once you get used to it. See, right now, I just Google when it comes to this thing, because when you use UI, there are certain fonts which look good, like Roboto, Railway, Montserrat, etc. And when you use posters and everything else, you need different type of this thing over there. So it keeps on changing, based on this thing. So Googling and research. Eventually, you get good at like deciding what fonts to use. There are some engines where font combinations can be generated. So it's like you enter font 1 and it's tell you what font will go good with it. So that is something you can look up. Guys, enjoy your Saturday, Sunday. Bye.